Hello YouTube, and boys and girls, and whatever the fuck you are. Asexuals, omnisexuals, pansexuals, transsexuals, all sexuals of all kind. How are you doing? I went through a great deal of trouble to bring you this today, so if you could, because of my webcam system not wanting to work right, I have no idea what's wrong with it. Perhaps my computer is itself on drugs. I am such a fucking drug addict that my computer has managed to pick up my habit. But this is not going to be a wrestling video. It's going to be a political video because my wrestling videos, let's face it, they suck. It's not because I don't have the passion and the fire in my belly for it. It's just that, I don't, the certain things I say don't come across. When I'm talking about wrestling, I need a better lesson in how to express my ideals when speaking. As regards to politics, this is going to be a political video. I want this to be a fucking political video. And that's what this is going to be. And it's going to be on individuality and what I would call, not really anarchy, but classical liberalism. That is to say, the liberal movement of, I would say, Thomas Jefferson. And it goes back to a guy named John Locke, and you also had it in the 1960s, and among people like John Lennon. John Lennon, I would say, was this, and so was later on in the 80s and 90s, you had Bill Hicks, George Carlin, and other individuals who was, basically liberal. And, I mean, that's what they were. And that's really what I want to express here today, is classical liberalism and how the progressive left, the far left, has taken over and hijacked the liberal movement and what liberalism is and should be going forward. And here's basically what I would consider liberalism. It is individualism. It's the prime tenets of liberalism is individuality, individual rights, individual identity, that you have rights, God-given rights, nature-given rights, have it as you will, whatever, but they come down to you almost from above as an individual, not for your group. It has nothing to do with collectivism. That's the difference between liberalism and progressivism. It's not the collective. You as an individual human being, you sitting there in that fucking seat watching me, laughing at me, saying I'm a pathetic piece of shit. You have individual rights because you are an individual, not because you're white or black or gay or straight, male, female, transgender, whatever. You're a person. Because of that, you have almost unlimited, omniscient rights. You are a fucking individual, and you are almost a godman in your right, deserving of any rights anyone else has. But here's the thing. You don't deserve those rights because you're a group. You deserve them because you are an individual person. And that's it. That's the difference from progressivism. Progressivism splits people up into groups. It's all about now you're this group. You're black, you're white, you're gay, you're straight. You're entitled to rights. Someone else owes you something. Okay, and that comes down to my next fuck it. Difference in opinion. Equal opportunities versus equal outcomes. Now the government does owe you something. And the humankind owes you something. And God, in my opinion, owes you something. And that's called a roof over your head, food on your table, clothes on your back. I believe in government safety nets and government programs and so forth. I do believe in Social Security and welfare and food stamps and those things. But we don't owe you equal outcomes. If you go into a job profession, you're a woman, a man, or anything else, regardless of who the other person is, that doesn't mean you're going to get the same fucking outcome they get. That doesn't mean you're going to be rich because they're rich. You have every right to work for that same thing they have, and if you work as hard as they do, you should get it, and the government should say you should get it. But that's not communism. That's not saying just because you do something that you're guaranteed or you're owed or promised the same thing this person gets. That's not how it works. Here's the other thing. No racism. No racism. Not towards blacks, not from blacks, not towards this group or that group or from that group. There is individuals. Police abuse. Let's take police brutality, for instance. Yes, it is, and yes, it is a huge fucking problem. And police abuse in this fucking country needs to fucking end. Here's the thing. It has jack shit almost exclusively jack shit to do with race, in my opinion. Now, it has at one time, it has to do with poverty. If anything, it's a class issue, and liberalism is not totally mute to the class issue. We can be, but we're not. There are classes. The poor are oppressed. We have an overclass, an overlurking class of elitists on top who control the lower classes, and they work to control them, and they use the police to do that. And they take out that violence and that aggression. The lesser police, not all police are bad, but the ones who really don't give a shit anyways and are abusive, they take out the problems on poor people, and the largest group of poor people in this country are black people. But you cannot begin to solve black problems without causing the class problems, without solving class problems, without solving the problems of the poor and working class oppressed people in this country, regardless of who they are, white, black, yellow, brown. It doesn't make a damn. That is your fucking main problem. And when you begin to solve that, you've got your problem. Aldrin Albright, whatever the fuck her name is, this bitch, says any woman that doesn't help another woman should burn in hell. That was her exact phrase, for terminology. Here's the problem. That was her opinion or her view. Herein lies the fucking problem. She says this at a voting rally. So in other words, she's for Hillary Clinton. So in other words, she's telling you to vote for Hillary Clinton. If you don't vote for Hillary Clinton, you're a woman, you go to hell. What happened to the right to vote for women, a right to make up her own mind, a right to her own choice and her own opinion? So in other words, you have the right to vote, but if you don't use that right to vote the way they want you to, well, hellfire is your destination. Bullshit. And the irony of these people, Hillary Clinton and whatever her name is, Albright, whatever, telling you to burn in hell is not lost on anyone, because if anyone is going there, I guarantee you it's them. But herein lies the problem. No, you should not vote for someone based on their gender or their sexuality or their race. Now, do I think it's time for a fucking female president? Absolutely I do, with or even without the draft. I do think women should sign up for the draft, by the way. But with or without that, I still think it's time for a female president. It's been long enough. I'm glad we have a bright black president. It's time for a female president. But that doesn't mean there's no white guy out there. This is qualified for some black or female or whatever. It's whoever is best for the job. I think Bernie Sanders might and very well be the best. I used to support Trump. I've changed my mind. But the point is, there's other people out there. This is liberalism. This is supposed to be a classical liberal society. This is a liberal country. We have the Constitution, we have the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. These are classical liberal documents. And in my opinion, progressivism is simply a front for the fascist left. And that's really just the fascist right. It's all fascism under the control of a 1% of wealthy elitists who want to set up a police state in the United States of America, and they're using pretend liberalism, they call progressivism, to do it. It's cultural Marxism, it's communism. They did the same thing in Soviet Russia before they took over and killed millions of fucking people, and they did it under the pretend guise of equality. Don't buy it, don't fall for it, don't go along with it, don't sell out for it, don't whatever. Believe in yourselves, believe in liberalism, believe in the individual. That's all. P666.